World of Animation and Cinematics. I'm your moderator, Lauren Brown, and I am really excited to introduce you to our lovely panelists. Tian, would you like to go first and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Tian Chen, and I'm a senior 3D environment artist. I'm currently at Prophecy Games, known for the game Dead Zone, and I've also worked on titles like Smite 2 and Paladins. Any of you guys know?
Paladins? What about you?
I'm Paul. I am a mystic. Okay, I'll just run with it. I'm a previs artist. I was recently at Snowy Box Studios. Most of my experience was doing previs at the third floor. I worked on titles like Marvel and Star Wars, DC, a lot of superhero, sci-fi stuff. And recently, I've been jumping from place to place, doing a lot of Unreal animation for games. So, yeah, that's what I'm be talking a lot about previs, I guess.
And I'm Lauren Brown. I know I'm the moderator, but I should introduce myself. I'm a senior art director at Wizards of the Coast, working on Magic the Gathering and Realms and Exodus, are two digital games. And I also work on cinematic trailers at that studio, as well as a background in animation and games working at EA, Zynga, and Floyd County on shows like Rapture. So let's get into it, shall we? So first, I would love y'all to tell me a little bit about your journey. What inspired you to go into this industry and how you ended up getting to where you are today.
So I, of course, love video games, still do. I also enjoyed a lot of traditional art, so painting, sculpting, drawing, and all of that was, just my childhood. But once I got into high school, I got into robotics club, and that's when I kind of made the connection of art and technology with like 3D together. And with that, I started to work on AutoCAD, making parts for robots in our robotics team, and that kind of combined the both of games, art, and also tech together. And that's how I ended up becoming interested in wanting to do environment art for games. And then I eventually went to college for it. Yeah.
What about you, Paul?
Yeah, so
I know. We should Paul. Yeah. Go closer. Come here, Paul.
This is great, but let's be friends.
exile. All right, so there we go.
Yay.
So, shortly after graduating in 2014, I spent a few years doing mostly freelance, trying to break into studio work. And my first opportunity was at the third floor, doing previs for major motion film and television, a lot of Disney Plus properties. And during that time, there was a transition going on where in the industry, in previs particularly, there was a push from going from Maya to Unreal. So I ended up picking up a lot of these Unreal skills that were relevant to games, and just sort of fell into doing VR projects. Mostly, I guess cinematics is kind of what it is, because they're short films for VR. An unreleased project that I worked on this year that I can't name yet, but also at Millions of Tiny Robots, they did release this VR experience of the Emperor's Tomb in China. It's like a traveling museum VR experience where you have this interactive space where you're walking around through this room that matches to this VR environment that we created that showcases what they believe the Emperor's Tomb looks like inside. So, yeah. Less echoey one.
So I just sort of fell into it really, based off of the skills I picked up from my previous art.
Well, sometimes one does not simply fall into certain things. So what was the path actually like when you first landed that job for you, third floor? For you, was your first at high res?
For me, it was, so I did internship. I actually did start at Cartoon Network first.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I worked on Adventure Time web-based game. And it's interesting you talked about like using different tech, like Maya or a different 3D program. I actually started on Maya first, but once I got into high res, we started using DX Max. So I had to like quickly switch and try out different program.
Yeah. What was that period like of adjustment, by the way? Just wanted to throw that in there.
Well, it was different because I went from working on a like a smaller team to I would say a larger team. I did work on a mobile game there at High Res that was also small, but once I got into Paladins, that was a larger team. And when you switch from a small team to a larger team, you end up having different tasks. It becomes a little more specialized. So you focus on one thing versus a lot of things.
Awesome. And what about you, Paul? For your journey into the industry, how did you get that first job at Third Floor?
Friendships. I made a lot of connections, and I had a lot of people advocating for me by that point. I graduated from Cal Arts 2014 with a degree in character animation, and all of my work was in 2D and traditional animation. I didn't have any CG under my belt. I took classes there, but I didn't have any kind of portfolio for it. So when I was kind of having trouble finding work and seeing all these CG jobs that I just couldn't apply to, I sort of just buckled down and just started making CG things in my own time. And over the course of like 6 to 8 months, I created multiple character rigs, I animated them, and I threw them together. And when I had that ready, I had a friend at the Third Floor who was actually in charge of casting, who was like, okay, you finally can give you a shot. So, and then I was there for like 2.5 years.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know oftentimes when we are in college or just trying to break into the industry, we have a certain picture of what that industry is supposed to look like, what that job is going to be. It's like, oh, like once I get my dream, everything's going to be like this. And I want to know from the two of you, expectations versus reality. What was it like versus your expectations to actually be in the studio once you got there?
So for me, funny enough, when I was in college, one of my inspirations was the game Fallout, and I tell my friends all the time, I started off wanting to make games because that game was just that awesome to play, and just the environments were just amazing, having like a post-apocalyptic kind of style. But funny enough, when I first internship, it was totally different. I mean, Adventure Time, which is very stylized and cartoony compared to realistic, grungy type of games, was not what I was expecting. But I think for me, that was like a personal change in like, I always gravitated towards media that was cartoony and stylized. But again, I was still into games that were realistic. So I kind of opened myself up and tried out artistic styles that were a little different, and you know what? I like both. Yeah.
I guess, well, one of the things I expected getting out of school was that, I was naive. I graduated, and I was just thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna get a job because I'm talented. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. You need to be seen more than anything, and I think that was the hard lesson that I learned. I was fine being able to get freelance by hustling, but when it comes to getting that first studio job, you need to more than just prove yourself. You need to show that you're great to work with as well, and I think that's something that I had to pick up after my education.
Yeah, it can definitely be really challenging to go into the industry and to not to have no idea what it actually looks like, or when you are there to maintain what it is that you have and to keep like appraised of everything that's moving in the industry, because technology is rapid. It's always adjusting, changing. The industry is always shifting as well. And so I wanted to know, how do you keep yourself sharp in an industry that's always shifting, where jobs are, consistently, like we hear about layoffs all the time, which it can be scary, but you both are still people who are maintaining your work in the industry. How is it that you keep your skills sharp and yourself sharp? So what I hear a lot too is like people tend to burn out. People tend to be too tired to continue to study and practice their craft. So how do you keep yourself, how do you keep the energy up for yourself?
So for me, I collect a lot of research and just things that are changing out in the world right now in game industry. Following people on social media, being inspired by other people's work, that's such a big thing. Nowadays, we have so many resources out there. Take classes. There's so many opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always trying to learn new skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lately I've been doing a lot of Unreal animation, like I might have mentioned already. That came with a lot of new things for me to learn. I know how to rig in Maya. I don't know how to rig in Unreal, but I can learn that. And there's I know how to do effects in Maya. I don't know how to do them in Unreal. There's always new things to learn. And one thing that really keeps me engaged is maintaining those relationships I have with other people that I've met in the industry. And it takes some effort on my part, on both sides really, to keep those relationships strong. And there's a lot of value in the connections that you make, for sure.
Absolutely. To some of the most important things. I was just talking to a young, high school student, and was telling her that, it's important to be at events like this, to talk to each other and to be around like-minded people who are all striving for the same things, because we have a lot of knowledge to share and give to each other. So just make sure that you are, continuing to network, not just for an opportunity, but also just to be interested in the people who are around you. That's always really important. So I wanted to ask, after your years in the industry and your experiences that you've had, what kind of advice would you give to everybody who's listening, whether they're students, aspiring professional? What advice do you feel like has helped you the best, and what advice would you give to other people?
One of my key things is if you have personal projects and you're inspired, continue to work on those. Look at other people's works also for references and seeing what other people are doing out there, because they're going to help you learn a lot, and just working on your personal projects. Yeah.
I'd say that there's probably the greatest value to your career is being engaged in the community that you're a part of, talking to people, making new friends, but really making meaningful connections, not just oh, here's my business card, talk for a bit, and then you never see that person again. They have to keep seeing you. You have to keep talking to them, so that it feels like, and actually is, more like a real friendship that you have with them. Because if something ever comes up and you need work, and they are the ones that have it, they might think of you. They'll be like, well, here's an animation gig. Oh, I know an animator, So I think it's definitely working with the community that you're a part of.
And we have another panelist who has joined us. It's all good. I know this building is in a weird location, so it's Is that on? Yes, it's on.
Hello?
There you go. Oh, that one's echoing.
I'm definitely not used to traveling down here. And I thought it was in the other building where the registration
Oh,
was.
no.
I just had an angel come and rescue me.
And Ginger was my angel. Would you like to introduce yourself for the audience?
Yes, I'm Matt McCullah. I'm the
That's awesome.
and I also have some
You might need to speak loud because our mic is weak.
Oh,
Perfect.
better? Did everybody hear me?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
good.
thank you.
I was going to say, funny thing, Matt and I actually work together, so yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've worked together
Connections.
at other places. When I first met you, we were at the Cartoon Network.
Yes, Cartoon Network, and then at Hi-Res. Yeah.
She was an intern at Cartoon Network. And then
Yeah.
we were at Hi-Res.
That's awesome. So would you like to tell us, I'm going to just back up for a few questions just so the audience can get to know you a little bit better as well, Matt. So what was your journey like in terms of getting into Hi-Res or starting your career in the first place? I would love to just know more about your beginnings and what the road was like.
Yeah, sure. So I started, actually, I graduated the Art Institute in Atlanta back in '99. So I graduated from there, majoring in computer animation, and my first job actually wasn't even related to animation. It was just a graphic design job for casino games. did that for about 10 years, and I ended up getting my first full-time animation at Cartoon Network after having been laid off twice. So it's I worked at Cartoon Network for about 4.5, 5 years, and I got a lot of a very valuable experience there. And then I had another layoff at Cartoon Network, where the whole team got let go, and I ended up at Hi-Res Studios. Actually, one of the other guys that I worked with also went to Hi-Res. So a lot of people, there's a lot of overlap, industry overlap. It's great. And I've been at Hi-Res for the past 11 years, and I've done work on just about all the games. Paladins is my team now, for a company. And we've just been bouncing back and forth. I've done some work with an internal studio at Hi-Res called Alacrity Art House, and we were in charge of all of the cinematic animations that we did there. So all of the promotional stuff, all the marketing, animations, and everything we did to promote the games.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. I wanted to get a little bit more specific with each of y'all, and would love for you to tell me about a project or projects that you worked on recently. And if my friends will know me to say, tell me a story about a project that you learned a lot on or struggled a lot on, and how you eventually overcame that. Because I just want to know more about the specific things that y'all have worked on and how that was like.
Okay, so for me, I took a very big step when I left Hi-Res and I ended up working at, it was known as Stormy Games, but previously the name was Lionheart Games. And it was an indie studio, small team, around 10 to 11 people actually on the art development part of it. And I was pretty much the only environment artist. So that was a big leap for me to have to start learning a lot of generalist skills. I had to do lighting, I had to do some VFX, a little bit of environment animation. That was scary. But yeah, for me, it was trying to survive. I had to learn a lot of new skills in that role, and it changed me. It changed me a lot because I realized, like, I can do a lot of things. I can learn a lot, and I can use a lot of these skills to kind of expand what a game can have, and it was quite fun, yeah.
Could you repeat the question?
I wanted you to tell me a story about a project that you'd worked on that you feel like you learned a lot from, or just want to talk about in general. Just want to know more specifically about what it is that you worked on and how that experience was like for you.
Oh, totally, yeah. Really quick. Let's go chin with us.
Yeah, let's get close. Let's be friends.
All right, okay. That's what distracted me. I missed
Oh,
your
you're
question.
all good.
Okay, so if I had to pick one, okay, I think one of the most interesting ones that I worked on was, and it's not a cinematic for a game, but it's previous, was Marvel's Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many remember that production, but it was originally going to be directed by the same director of the original Doctor Strange. And he left the project midway through. And that is when I joined the project. And it was interesting because we were bought and paid for. We had to do work, even though there was no work to do. So they said, go nuts. Just make stuff up. Do whatever you want. No wrong answers, just go for it. Yeah. So, and so a lot of it didn't make it to the final version. And to this day, I'm not allowed to talk about that stuff because Disney owns it. So NDA, can't talk about it. But some of that stuff actually did end up in the final cut. And one of them is mine, and it's the tentacle monster going down the street in New York City. And I pitched it, and I was like, oh, I know. They need Doctor Strange, they told me, we need Doctor Strange to fight someone here. Because that's just how, this is gonna happen at the movie. And be like, so just pick a monster from the comics, it doesn't matter which. And I was like, I know. He famously fights Shumagora. in the beginning of the film. So I pitched it, and we did it, only to find out later that we didn't have the rights to shoot McCullah. So, and I wasn't on the project when they fixed that, but I did hear about it, or like they said, no, that's definitely not McCullah. That's this other tentacle monster he fights at some point. Yeah, and they changed his design, but to this day, there's definitely fans that are like, but it kind of looks like Shooter. and there is a reason for that. Yeah, we had a lot of freedom when we were working on that history of the project, and it was a real blast. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, I think that's one of the most interesting projects that I got to enjoy.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay, what about you?
That sounds terrifying.
Terrible, yeah, like no rain, like no
I mean,
guardrails.
On top of the fact that you have to animate a tentacle monster, and then can't use. For me, I guess one project was, well, in general, we had to kind of take the existing models that we had for our in-game graphics and use those for our cinematics. And a lot of the times they needed to be outfitted with new controls that the regular game version didn't have. So they had to add controls to Jormungandr. It's a big monster in our game who's based on the Norse mythology. And he had to have lip sync controls added. And I had never even done lip sync animation before. And it ended up being a really good opportunity for me to learn, get experience doing lip sync animation, even though it was a big snake-like creature with a mouth that was nothing like a human mouth. So I had to kind of try to create, the mouth shapes that would create the speech that he would do. So that was kind of a challenge, and but it turned out to be fun. I had a lot of fun with it. But comparatively to like doing movie cinematics, I think that would be a lot less complicated. So I'm lucky in that I got to work with rigs that I was already familiar with. Having worked on the games and everything, but getting those characters to do things that they weren't originally designed to do was a challenge for sure.
And I actually want to answer this question myself as well, because I've worked on a few things that have been really interesting in the past 4 years since I've been at Wizards. So when I got into Wizards, I started as a marketing art director, and I very quickly started to get the mission of get handmade artists to do handmade things, because AI was just becoming a conversation in 2022. And throughout the time that I was there, I was like, oh, let's do like cut paper. Let's do like somebody who's like actively painting and show the behind the scenes of them, because we get to post that on social media, we get to make trailers around that. And so eventually the set comes out called Lore When Eclipsed, and it's gonna be my set to work on. It's a whimsical fantasy, like fairy set, kind of like Welsh mythology, things like that. And when we got into the brainstorming room for that trailer, it's me, the copywriter, and our video producer. And we were talking about the set, and I'm just like looking at the card art for it, and I'm like, just these characters just look so Muppety. Like, I feel like we should like have like Muppets. And like our copywriter was just like, yeah, like I think that like it should be Muppets, and it should also be like a musical. And we were like, we've never done anything like that before, that's kind of crazy, but what if we like could though? Like what if, we got somebody like Jim Henson Company to work on it? Wouldn't that be like crazy? I don't know. And our producer comes back to us and tells us, he's like, hey, I actually talked to the Jim Henson Company and they're on board. And I'm just like, what? Are you serious? Like we're making this? We get a songwriter, we get a team of puppeteers, we get the Brian Henson to direct it. And suddenly I find myself in LA at the studio watching Kevin Clash, the voice of Elmo, and many other puppeteers like Raymond Carr. I don't know if anybody knows who that is, but to puppet these characters that we've art directed, we've seen, like we've made up our two characters, Squid and Crag, and we put them everywhere online, and we made a trailer with them singing, and it was just like the craziest experience. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, like what did I do to end up here? I didn't think like me drawing in my sketchbook would ever end me up in a place like this, but it was really interesting because like throughout my time at Wizards, my big mission was to talk to handmade artists and like, you know, talk to artists who are actually crafting things and thinking about things and having original ideas and concepts. And I was like, I think I unintentionally, intentionally led ourselves here. And it was just like a good sign. I was like, I think I'm doing the right thing in my career. So I just wanted to share that. All right, I think lastly, before I open it up to audience questions, I asked the other two panelists about advice that they would give, you know, artists, and I know I want to hear from you more. But is there anything else that you want to tell us, and then advice that you want to give that you felt like helped you a lot in your career?
Yeah, maintain your contacts and friendships with people in the industry, or even if people you're going to school with, they will get your back before anybody else will. I got my first job out of college through a friend of mine, and every job I've gotten since has been for people that I knew. So it definitely pays to know people and be good friends with people. So that's probably my best advice, is just maintain your relationships and be cool to people who work with.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, audience. We have half an hour left. I have to end it early because I have another panel at 3. But anybody, brave souls, have any questions to ask our intrepid panelists? And yeah, microphone to hand out. We have 2 questions. Who goes first?
Over there.
This person and this person.
You might want to speak up.
Okay.
You might want to speak up.
Hello.
Hello.
I'll try to speak up.
We can hear you. Good.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your experience here. My name is Rara. I'm a 3D animator who wants to be a previs or layout artist. Now I am curious. Now you have inspired many people, but with your position right now and your experience, I was wondering if you have any goal moving forward, or where you want to be, like a dream that you used to have, maybe a personal project, or maybe you're happy with where you are right now, which is fine. I'm just curious to ask them. Thank you.
That's a great question. Thank you. Who wants to start?
Oh, is this for everybody?
I think it is for everybody. I'll answer this too.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, sure. So I have several personal projects that I work on outside of my work time. There's a story that I've been working on for about 12 years now that I would eventually love to be, you know, a comic, a show, a game, you know, all the transmedia things out there. And so I've been working towards that with me and my Discord. We have a story Discord that I established in 24. And we've all been encouraging each other to tell stories and just to build it all up. But one of my big goals is also, even though I really love what I do at Wizards, I eventually do want to go independent and just be able to make my way on my own art. I've been doing conventions for about 15 years now, and they've gotten to a point where they could be profitable enough to sustain me if I could focus on it full time. So, you know, with that full-time focus, I really want to just be able to dig deep into my own art and tell my own stories and to make my own money.
So for me, I have certain side projects that are technically not like computer 3D, but I do still continue to do traditional kind of paintings. And I'm also really big into Warhammers. I love painting my Warhammer figurines, and that kind of translates also into 3D when I go into and paint sculpts and stuff like that. As for goals, you know, I want to stay in games. That's typically more what I am into because I love the feeling of being in an environment that a player can interact with and having just like story told through the things that I can place around that a person can walk around. So yeah, that's good for me.
For personal projects, I have a couple rigs that I've been working on for a little bit too long. When it comes to personal projects, what I really want to do is create some Unreal shorts, just like, and that's what these assets are for that I've been making. That wasn't the original plan. So one of the big challenges was I I needed to go back to my old rigs and change their skeletons so that they were compatible for a control rig and getting animation into Unreal. So I've gotten that far, at least. And at the moment, my current goal is just stable employment.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so once that's in the bag, then I think I might have some more free time to do other things. But as long as I'm going contract to contract, I think I'm just going to be all in on just the grind and the hustle, you know. So.
As for me, I am similar. I want to stay employed. I like my job right now, and I've been there for a long time, but it is a very volatile time to be in the industry right now. I'm hoping that we are in the getting worse before it gets better phase, or we're transitioning into the getting better phase of the industry. But yeah, I want to stay employed, obviously, and but aside from that, I would love to be able to contribute to like any project, whether that be animation, like cinematic of, you know, Ninja Turtles or something. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a Ninja Turtles fanatic, and I would love to be able to do some kind of like indie project where I get to animate Ninja Turtles. We did that for Smite for a little bit when we had that crossover with Nickelodeon, and that was, I didn't want that project to end, so that was really fun. And similar to Tian, I also like to paint things, paint figures, and I've custom painted my own Turtles figures, and I like to do oil painting as well, and things like that. So just sculpting, I've done that as well. I sculpted a Dragon Ball character for my wife's birthday one time. But I enjoy doing anything artistic. There's a pretty wide range of interest that I have. So yeah, that's pretty much what I would do.
We should have had you in for we did do a Ninja Turtles animated short for our set that we did in collaboration. Did you see it?
No, I would love to see that.
Yeah, that's really cute. I didn't get to work on it, but it was like a cute 2D in the real world kind of thing. So it was very charming.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, we had a question back here. Yeah, I think it was you. It's you. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. This is for Mr. Flores. So your story with Multiverse of Madness, it made me think of something. Was Shumagraph chosen? Like, is that an idea because of Marvel vs. Capcom in any way? Because I know he's very popular because of that.
You know, that wasn't on my radar.
Okay.
At the time, I was sort of their go-to lore person, because like I had the comics. I used it as an opportunity to buy even more comics, and I did a lot of research, and I sort of collated all of this information in this time when we literally had nothing to go by, really. And yeah, that was the task I was given, was we need a fight in this spot, and we just need to pick someone. And it was between Shumagorath, like I was narrowing it down, right? And Shumagorath is in the comics. He does fight Shumagorath in New York at one point. And the other alternative was, there is this sort of like goblin-ish guy that's purple and has like a red gem that's Stephen Strange fights at some point. And I was kind of debating between the two. And I was like, no, Tentacle Monster sounds like the right speed for an MCU movie. So I pitched it, and that's what we ended up doing.
It turned out really awesome, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Like, in that movie, I love that. That was really cool.
Yeah, I have a little bit of previs of it in my reel.
You want to see it?
Yes, if you guys want to.
Yeah. Yeah, let's show it off.
We got the volume turned down, right? Because that music you've been hearing is actually.
Is that, somebody turned the volume down?
Yeah, can we just turn the lights down a little bit?
Yeah, can we get the volume down a bit, lights?
Sure hope the music's not copyrighted.
I can't get these clips until like it's been out for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I go like that.
YouTube will do that too.
Yeah. All good? Oh, sorry, wrong one.
Technical.
Can we get the lights still too?
There you go. Thank you so much for sharing, that's amazing.
Yeah, I have a question now.
Yeah.
I wish I saw that before. Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm a full-time voice actor. So this is, I'm really just like, wow, what's the other side of the industry look like? But is that normal? Do you guys usually like draw out for, let's say it's Doctor Strange, like that's normal in the Marvel universe to draw out what that scene will look like before the actors even step foot into that world?
Yeah, actually, it is. Especially for projects like Marvel or Star Wars, where you have these really big productions that cost millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
And like just rendering an explosion will cost millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And if you do that and then discover there's something that you don't like or doesn't work, then you just threw all that money out the window.
Yeah.
So that's literally the reason why this job, Previs, wasn't originally invented. Back when they made The Phantom Menace, it was this production where they were using CG for backgrounds. Like, it wasn't the first time they used CG for backgrounds, but it was probably the first time they used it to that scope, where it was just like, almost like every scene was a CG background. And they didn't want to render all of that unless they were certain it was going to work. So oftentimes they'll get drawings directly from the director, or there's a story department that has storyboards for you to work with. And my job is just like have these CG characters act out what's going on based on what the director wants, what's in the script, and what the story department wants to happen. And you will come across situations just like, when I put this camera in here with that lens, those two things aren't going to be visible. And those are also problems I end up having to solve sometimes. So.
Interesting. That is so cool. Like, this is blowing my mind. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Thank you so much, Olivia. All right, back there.
Hi, I'm Gigi. I had a question. You guys were talking about keeping your skills sharp and learning new things to stay competitive. What resources are you using? What classes are you going to? And my second question is, how do you, work in animation, then come home to your personal projects while learning new skills and keep from being like burned out?
Great question. Who wants to go first?
So a lot of times in your, personally for me, my projects at work will have a lot of new things that come up, maybe similar to previous things that I worked on, but sometimes it's like completely new. I will have to do my research at that moment at work to figure out how to solve that problem. And those instances come up quite often. And then as for like resources, there's like CG Masterclass, there's also, for me, I do a lot of Pinteresting, Twitter, a lot of people from out of the country in China or other countries will post like resources of videos of how they've done certain tricks to make something for us to like, if we're doing it manually, it might be really hard, but if it's procedurally done, it can be, speed up your process of making something that you are wanting to complete in a project. Yeah.
For me, well, I actually tend to procrastinate on my personal projects. That's taken me years to just get the things that I want to get done. I very much put almost all of my energy into my professional work. And yeah, I have to admit my personal art has languished because of it. But part of that is also just I really enjoy the things that I do. So it doesn't really bother me that much. But yeah, it's a sin that I've been committing for a while that I want to work on. Like getting back out there and doing figure drawing is something that I want to do so badly, actually. And part of that is that I moved here to Atlanta a few years ago. And I grew up in LA. And that's the environment that I'm most familiar with, is just where everything is. I knew all the secret places. If I wanted to do figure drawing in LA, I could just drive to a place where I knew it was happening. Here, it's like, oh, well, I'm not familiar with anything around here. And I don't know, I guess I'm just still getting my footing on that. And yeah, it's something I need to work on.
Me, I've been using YouTube a lot. There are endless resources on YouTube for learning how to do all kinds of things. I'm glued to YouTube when I'm at home, and I'm just looking at drawing tutorials, sculpting tutorials. There's a guy I follow on YouTube who does 3D pen sculpting, like he makes his own little sculptures on 3D pen, and I'm fascinated by it. But aside from that, I'm also looking into actually taking some classes for, I guess, game animation in Unreal Engine, trying to understand the more technical side of it better. I do a lot of technical stuff in Unreal, but I don't know enough of it to solve some of the problems that we're faced with every day. And a lot of the times we have to rely on the tech art department. And I would like to understand that side of it, the more technical side of things, a lot better. So I'm looking into taking an animation mentor class designed for 3D animation in the engine, Unreal 5. And besides that, like I said, YouTube videos are constant. We're lucky at IRS in that at one point they gave us access to their law workshop classes, but there were online courses that we just look at video tutorials and stuff like that. But it was a huge range of anything that we could think to take, whether it was drawing, sculpting, animation, the whole gamut of knowledge was available to us there, and we were really fortunate to have that resource. But I wish to God when I was in college that I had a resource like YouTube, the way it's developed since I was in college, because there was virtually nothing. They didn't even have Animation Mentor back then either, so that was another resource that I would love to have had access to. But yeah, there's a lot. Gaining access to like specific discords for some of these things, if you can find people online who are sort of organizing these tutorials and things like that. There's a lot of resources you can find, communities on Discord, and help you kind of develop that way as well. You can make connections that way. Also, it's really good.
And yeah, for me, in marketing, there's so many different things that I touch, so I had to just be aware of what's going on in the industry, what's going on with our, competitors and like companies, what kind of animated, trailers are out there and cinematics and new techniques and new ideas that people are trying out. It's just like, it's filling my cup with media that inspires me and makes me excited. And that's how I keep from burning out, is actually filling my cup. Because I have a ton of personal projects, and the way that I keep myself motivated to do them is to enforce some kind of deadline on myself. And my deadline is usually, this convention is coming up and you have to make an art for it. Because it's my personal art that I sell, fortunately I get to keep my personal projects alive because of that. But to prevent the burnout that could come from overworking myself, which has happened before a few times, You know, it's also there's a lot of value in getting out there and not just making your whole life about the one thing that you're doing. You have to get away from the screen sometimes. You have to go outside, you have to touch grass, talk to people, do other things, have a hobby or of some sort that's not related to work. I'm still learning the value of doing that. And it's hard when, you know, when drawing used to be the hobby and now it's the career, and where do I find solace if the thing that I'm working on is also the thing that I find, you know, joy in. And sometimes it's okay to step away from that and find inspiration from other sources, because that can then come back and feed in all the things that you're actually doing into your professional work and to your personal projects, and it makes them so much more richer because of that. All right, we have a question here.
Yes, so, hi, I'm Aaliyah. I'm Aaliyah. So, what was something you wish you would have done when you were 17 career-wise?
Career? I had no career when I was I was in high school.
Like getting started.
I don't know if I could have done anything differently, to be honest. I was
Just explore your
a baby.
interests. When you're 17, you know, you've got your whole life ahead of you and you've got a lot to figure out still. And don't rush into anything that you're not sure about. Explore, you know, be a generalist at that point. Like, just do a little bit of everything until you find something that you really like, and then pursue that from there. That's what I would do.
Yeah, my niece is 17, and they're just asking me, they're like, hey, Auntie Lauren, you know, like, what should I do? I feel like there's so much pressure for me to have everything figured out already. And I'm like, child, you're 17. What are we doing here? Like, it's literally the time to just feel things out, because you don't have it, you're not in your career yet at 17. This is still something that you get to explore for yourself, and there are so many ways to express yourself out there. If you're creative, there's a lot of ways to explore what that means for you. So do you like art, do you like music, dancing, like anything, all that stuff is wide open, because, you know, once you start to, you know, become an adult and become a professional, you can figure out how all those things blend together and mix and match. And there's a lot of different paths that you probably wouldn't have known about if you didn't keep your eyes open to other possibilities that are out there. You know, like, even though my realm has been in art, I have always been interested in animation, games, comics, you know, like just all kinds of different art media, and explored different pieces of each of those. And now in my current job, I'm pretty much doing almost everything that I've explored in my like early life and in my early career. And so it all like came back to support me and make me a better, you know, like employee, better artist, better person in the end, just by having more experiences that I get to pull from. So just have fun, be whimsical, be silly with it, get crazy. There's no pressure yet, so don't put pressure on yourself before there's pressure.
For me, I would say, man, when I was 17, I was pretty much trying to find like a group of people, a community that was interested in the things I was into, and it was hard. It was hard. So I feel like nowadays, like Matt said, there's like Discords, like social media areas that you guys can connect with other people who are interested in doing the same things that you guys might be into, that you know, can help guide you into learning from each other. Yeah.
All right. Looking around the audience, don't be shy. We have 10 minutes left, so I think we can take 2 more questions. By the way, I have magic packs for everybody who asked a question, so there we go. We got it. We got a hand up. There we go. We got you first back there, and then you.
Also, I didn't play my microphone. I can speak really loud.
They're bringing it to you.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. My name is Pats, and I'm a 2D animator, and for the past 2 years, I think we've all seen a bunch of layoffs, a bunch of companies going through the ringer, like Technicolor not too long ago, and this overall sense that Western animation, Western media in general is on this decline, while Eastern is seeing a resurgence. And I just want all 4 of your opinion on people thinking like, oh, Western animation is going into the dump, it's cooked, and if you guys see any points that animation in the West come back again.
It's a great question. So when people say stuff like that, it's cooked, it's, you know, it's like encouraging despair, and I think that's useless, honestly. Because the industry has always shifted and changed and transformed over time. Like any industry is going to do that. And entertainment industries are much more volatile because, you know, what people want in the audience will change over time. But it's a pendulum, I feel, that swings back and forward between you know, declines and surging. And I feel like right now it's, you know, it's in a hard place. But I knew as soon as like AI came out and layoffs started happening post-pandemic, I knew that I was like, I just feel like indie animation and indie projects are going to find a surge because of this decline in, you know, studios and, you know, big companies that are keeping people employed. And I was correct. There's so many animated projects right now that are out there that I think that we all need to put better effort behind supporting and uplifting, sharing, because those smaller projects are right now what the biggest expression of animation is for Western animation. And you know, like I know that we still have things on Netflix and, you know, like all those different platforms, but there's so many more projects out there that are like that. And I think that actually gives me so much hope, because I was like, if you lay off animators are always gonna make something happen. We're artists, we're always gonna be drawing no matter what. You can't stop us. And that's proof that you can't stop us. So that's one way that I feel hope, and also working on my own personal stuff, because I wanna be able to contribute to that world where artists still get to have voice. And so, you know, right now Western animation is in a rough spot. I don't think it's gonna be like that forever, but I do think it's gonna look different.
I was gonna say, I agree with you a lot on the smaller companies kind of forming, the indie projects forming, especially when a lot of these companies that are doing layoffs, they're huge. Their teams are so large sometimes that, you know, they can't support funding for that. And a lot of times when, you know, artists, when we get laid off, we will seek something to do. And a lot of times people will start their own little companies or their own little projects with friends. And before you know it, you know, something gets caught and become viral or popular.
When it comes to the temperature of the entertainment industry, I like to defer to my older brother, who is an Emmy Award-winning sound mixer working in television. And he's been in the industry so much longer than I have. I was a teenage kid when he was like working on, I forget what show. But anyway, when I got laid off and I was looking for work, I was talking to him a lot as like emotion support. And he told me like, yeah, this is something that I've seen happen many times before. It goes up, it goes down, it always comes back eventually. And in fact, it feels worse right now because things were actually really good right beforehand. Before COVID hit, the entertainment industry was so strong. There were so many jobs. So when it dipped and it went back to this low point, it really hurt because it was a really big height to fall from. And when it comes back, it might not go back up to that point where it was, but he told me it will come back. And I'm just gonna put some faith into his wisdom.
Yeah, they pretty much said exactly what I was gonna say about, you know, the peaks and valleys of the industry. It ebbs and flows. It always comes back. It always dips. But ultimately, if you want to do this, if you want to be an animator or anything in the industry, any role, just do it. Do it on your own. You can't wait for people to sort of make the jobs available. You have to kind of create the avenue yourself. So like when you go home and when you're just working on your own stuff, just share it with people, get it out there, get it seen, and improve as much as you can all the time. Just try to be good at what you do, or just try to get it out there. You don't even have to be great at it, just do it. The more you do it, the better at it you'll get naturally. It'll come to you, and you'll create those avenues yourself.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, we had one more question. Yep, there you are, in the black and white.
Sorry, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to synthesize my question because I have like a couple. Of course, I latched onto the magic cards because I've been getting into that. But I guess like sort of kind of like tying into what I was kind of wondering about that. You know, when I was like going through art school, I think I remember like all the classes are designed to make you like as multifaceted as possible so that you're as well-rounded as possible so that you know how to be at least a little bit good at everything. And then I graduate and I go onto LinkedIn. It's like, actually, you should not be a jack of all trades. You need to have a specialty in one specific thing because they're not going to care about everything else that you do. That's kind of the signals I've been receiving when I've been like, at least looking at jobs. And I was just kind of like wondering like the takes on that, and I guess how that's like tying into my like secondary question with regards to like for example, just like this is just an example of a project, but like the magic cards, right? When you're sourcing artists, like how do you assign them to a card? Like take like I'm collecting the Final Fantasy deck, so it's just like the machinists stuff. Like do you just get like a really nutty engineering artist? And then like, do you just like look for someone who's really crazy at that specifically, and then like you put them onto that one? And then of course land cards go to really crazy like environmental artists. Like, is it really that you have to pick a very specific niche to just get really crazy at?
This is why I don't like LinkedIn hot takes, because the thing is that they don't apply for everybody and they don't apply for every career. Because when you're an illustrator, yeah, I think that it's always good to have a niche, something that you're like specifically good at, because for illustration, there's so many people out there doing illustration as well. Like you want to express yourself and stand out in that way. But also if you're an illustrator that wants to work in game studios specifically, then it's good to be able to do lots of different things. So it largely depends on what it is that you actually want to aim to do and how you want to learn. I personally think it's really valuable to have lots of different experiences and also to have mastered one thing that you're really, really good at, like the thing that you know how to do. But if you get into like say an indie studio where you have to wear lots of hats, then you can be versatile and do lots of things. But like when as an illustrator, I have a niche in a very specific art style. But I can also, I've been a background artist for 5 years, and my art has nothing to do with background art. So when I was in school, I learned many different ways of how to like express my art through different mediums. My biggest thing was learning my foundations strong enough to be able to flow between different fields and know that each expression of it is of high quality. But the thing that I love to do is the thing that I express in my illustration, which is what I want to get hired for to work on magic cards as well. And so, so yes, when we're hiring magic artists, we want to have somebody who is a specialist at their thing because we want to make sure that we get reliable results. If we don't see you doing environments, we're not going to hire you for environment art, for land art. And if we never saw you do a creature, then why would we have you do a creature? But I think there's value in both expressions, but it's also just what career do you want to go into? As an animator, you have to learn many different styles, so that that niche specific thing doesn't quite work for animators. So that's why I don't like the LinkedIn hot takes, because I think that they're not personalized at all. LinkedIn is kind of cesspool, honestly.
So I went to an art college. I went to SCAD, and it had a very similar structure. They try to teach you all sorts of things in like just traditional art, and then also I went into interactive game design. They taught you how to use all sorts of different programs. And at a certain point, you kind of have to figure out like what is your main interest? What are you strongest at? Because that's going to show in your work. What you love the most, even though you might learn all these small skills, the one that you have the most passion in is going to stand out. And use that as like your catering point too. If you're showing portfolio work, your strongest work is going to stand out. Yeah.
There's one more thing I wanted to add to that. You reminded me of that. Thank you. That was great. Your voice is probably the most important thing that you can hone as an artist, because your voice will show through many different expressions of your art. But if you know what you want to say, know what you want to express, the things that are of interest to you specifically, the things that you latch onto and you get obsessed with for some reason, then you don't know why. That's the stuff that's going to make you stand out as an artist, regardless of whether or not you're flowing between many different things, or if you're focusing on a powerful niche. So hone your voice and understand who you are as an artist. Things will come after, and also strong foundations again.
Sorry, brain fart. I guess I'm thinking back to my experience when I originally graduated and had trouble finding work. I mostly did freelance. I was doing a lot of 2D, puppet animation, After Effects, wearing a lot of hats, and then when I've already told the story, I picked up a lot of CG skills. And I wasn't really specializing when I did that. In fact, it was kind of not that relevant to the job I ended up getting with it. And my specialization ended up happening in my professional experience in the end, just actually finally landing those jobs and like just, I don't know, like things falling into place by gravity, you know? I never planned to be a previs artist. I originally did pencil on paper animation, you know, a lot of physical drawing, and then just I kept learning new things. I learned how to rig, texture, model, and just do a whole bunch of things, and then that ended up being what I needed to get that first job, and then now I am a job I didn't even know existed when I was going to school. So I don't know, it just sort of happens naturally. If you just keep getting those relationships that can help you find the work that you need, you know?
It's really valuable to explore generalist approaches to things because if you pigeonhole yourself into just one aspect of whatever it is you want to do, you're likely going to limit your ability to solve a problem that comes up. If you have a generalist approach, they've written books about this too. I can't remember the name of it, but if you have a generalist approach, you are basically informing yourself many different ways to solve problems that you might not be able to anticipate if you're just stuck in one aspect of that. It's definitely valuable to learn a wide range of things, while at the same time specializing in something that you're most interested in doing. If you have the most knowledge when it comes to just one aspect, like for example, in my case, I knew I wanted to do something artistic when I was in high school, but I didn't really know what. So I kind of explored every aspect, whether it was 3D animation, modeling, rigging, the whole range of things. I wanted to do it all when I was really young. And I ended up finding out that I really don't like drawing 8 hours a day because I thought I wanted to draw comics when I was in college. I want to draw comics. Got into graphic design, and then I saw what the animation students were doing, and I'm like, that looks so fun. So I changed my major to animation, and that turned out to be so much more valuable for me. But I can draw. I have very strong drawing capability. I can do a little bit of rigging. I can do 3D modeling, texture mapping. I know how to do that stuff, and so if all I studied was character animation, there would have been times where I was trying to do something in my animation job where I just needed to have this character do something, and I needed an effect that I would have to rely on somebody else to do, but I know how to do it myself. I can model like a little swipe or something, or I can model a little prop that they can use as a pre-visualization element, and I can add something with the controls because I have that little bit of rigging knowledge that I was interested in. It's definitely valuable to have a wide range of generalist knowledge for sure.
All right, I'm so sorry, but that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, panelists. Everybody give a round of applause.
Flores, can we get a photo of you real quick there?
Absolutely.
So, you want to take a photo?
Do we stand up?
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Next, don't go away just yet, because just in around 10 minutes, we do have some really cool panelists up front here.
Yeah. And also, everybody who answered questions, come up front so you get your magic product.